The car engine cuts off. The soft, protective hum of the air conditioning dies with it, leaving a heavy silence inside the cabin. In the back seat, little Henry is fast asleep, his small chest rising and falling beneath a pristine white hotel blanket. Through the dust-streaked passenger window, Tu Na stares at the dirt yard. The midday sun is merciless, baking the earth until it cracks. The heavy bamboo gate, weathered and splintering at the base, stands half open. It is the unyielding boundary line of their reality. Beyond it, a towering stack of plastic crates leans precariously against the packing shed, waiting to be scrubbed. The sterile, quiet peace of their 5-day city hotel vanishes in a single painful heartbeat. Tu Na's knuckles turn white as she grips her purse. A worker, wiping sweat from his forehead with a frayed towel, spots the car. He stops in his tracks, his shoulders tense, his face tightening into a familiar mask of urgency, and he begins walking briskly toward them. For a brief, suffocating moment, the gravity of the farm threatens to crash down on Tu Na. The instinct to drop everything and immediately start fixing whatever is broken surges in her chest. She hesitates, her fingers trembling over the silver door latch. But Alex doesn't reach for his keys. He shifts quietly in the driver's seat, reaches across the center console, and rests his calloused hand firmly over hers. He looks at her, his eyes steady, and says quietly, "We do this differently now. Welcome back to our home." Returning from a vacation is often harder than leaving. You don't realize exactly how heavy the sky is until you try to hold it up again. Alex pushes his door open, and the intense heat immediately swallows them. The familiar, undeniable smell of damp soil and drying cassava flour fills the air. It is the scent of their survival, but today it feels intimidating. They have been gone for nearly a week. In the rhythm of farming, a week is enough time for 100 small, vital things to fall apart. Tu Na steps out carefully, her soft city shoes crunching loudly against the dry gravel. She stands by the open car door, momentarily paralyzed by the sheer volume of the visual noise around her. The tractors are coated in a fresh layer of pale dust. The bamboo drying racks need to be turned. A low, persistent humming comes from the water pump, a subtle sound that usually means a filter is struggling. Every corner of the yard is quietly demanding her immediate attention. In the past, this was the exact moment the vacation died. The old Tu Na would have abandoned her luggage by the front door and marched straight toward the packing shed to sort through wrinkled invoices. She would have erased the hard-earned peace of the trip in less than 5 minutes, terrified that if she didn't take control immediately, the farm would simply slip through her fingers. "You're back," a warm, familiar voice calls out. Bartang walks out from the dimness of the outdoor kitchen, wiping her damp hands on her faded floral apron. Through the open, slatted door, Tu Na can see a blackened aluminum pot of rice porridge simmering low on the wood stove, sending a gentle ribbon of steam into the thick air. Bartang has swept the porch completely clean. The small, worn plastic stools are arranged neatly around the low tea table, a silent invitation to rest. It is a loving gesture, but the reality of the farm's demands is still overwhelmingly loud in Tu Na's mind. Alex moves to the back of the car and pops the trunk. He doesn't rush. He moves with a deliberate, grounded slowness, hauling out the heavy canvas bags and setting them softly in the dirt. He watches Tu Na from the corner of his eye. After years of sharing this burden, he knows her silent tells. He sees how her gaze keeps darting anxiously toward the packing shed, where the worker is still standing awkwardly, clutching a clipboard, waiting for the right moment to approach. Tu Na's chest rises and falls quickly. The guilt is a heavy physical weight pressing against her ribs. Her neighbors, her workers, they have been sweating in this brutal heat while she was sleeping in a crisp white bed. How can she ask for another hour of rest? She takes a half step toward the shed. The old survival instinct is pulling her in. The pressure is building rapidly, threatening to drag her right back into the endless cycle of exhaustion she just spent 5 days trying to escape. The heavy clunk of the rear car door opening breaks the tension. Alex has walked around to the back, gently waking Henry. The little boy rubs his eyes, his hair a tousled mess from the long drive. Tucked tightly under his arm is his prized souvenir, a bright, perfectly polished plastic city toy truck. It is flawless, reflecting the harsh midday sun off its glossy red roof. Henry slips his small feet into his sandals and hops down onto the gravel. For a moment, the yard is still. Tu Na watches him closely. Just a few feet away from the porch, near the base of the concrete water tank, the morning watering has left a thick, dark patch of mud. Next to it sit Henry's old, sun-faded, splintering wooden blocks, abandoned in the dirt since last week. Henry doesn't hesitate. He doesn't look at the clean porch tiles or the neatly swept kitchen entrance. He marches directly toward the wet earth. With a joyful, completely unbothered grin, he drops the pristine red truck straight into the center of the brown muck. Tu Na's breath catches. Her arm twitches upward, the words already forming on her lips. "No, Henry, keep it inside, you'll ruin it." She wants to protect this small, clean piece of the vacation. She desperately wants to keep the dirt away from it. But then a quiet realization stops her cold. She watches her son kneel in the dirt, his small hands completely coated in mud, as he crashes the shiny new truck into the rough wooden blocks. He isn't upset that the toy is getting dirty. He isn't trying to keep his vacation life separated from his farm life. He is simply merging them together. To him, the farm is not a heavy burden to escape. It is just the place where his life happens. We spend so much time trying to compartmentalize our peace. We think we have to build walls around our rest to protect it from our work, keeping the two worlds strictly divided. But true healing doesn't require a perfectly sterile environment. Life is meant to be mixed together. The shiny things belong in the mud too. Before Tu Na can fully absorb the weight of that thought, the heavy crunch of boots on dry gravel pulls her back to reality. The worker has finally crossed the yard. He stops a few feet away, his face etched with the specific, exhausting worry of someone who has been carrying another person's problems for too long. In his rough hands, he holds a battered wooden clipboard. The edges of the paper are curled from the thick humidity, filled with dense, hastily scribbled notes about packaging line delays and minor equipment failures that occurred while they were gone. He clears his throat, offering a polite but strained nod. He opens his mouth to speak, ready to unload the week's accumulated friction. This is the exact threshold. This is the moment the vacation officially ends, where the invisible clock resets and the relentless machinery of their rural life demands to be fed with their time and sweat. Tu Na feels the familiar cold spike of adrenaline. She feels the overpowering urge to snatch the clipboard, to run straight to the shed, to instantly justify her absence by working twice as hard. She looks at the dense text on the paper. She looks over at the empty waiting chairs on the porch, where Ba Tang's pot of rice porridge is still sending up ribbons of fragrant steam. Then she looks at Alex. He is holding two heavy canvas bags, standing perfectly still in the brutal heat, letting her make the choice. Tu Na closes her eyes for just a second. She takes a long, deliberate breath of the warm, heavy air. She reaches out her hand, but she doesn't take the clipboard. Instead, she places her palm gently on top of the curled paper, softly pushing the board down away from the worker's chest. She looks him in the eye, offering a warm, steady smile that holds no panic at all. "It survived 5 days without us," she says quietly, her voice carrying a calm, newfound weight. "It can survive 1 more hour. Let us unpack, wash the dust off, and share a cup of tea first." The worker blinks, startled by the lack of urgency, before his rigid shoulders visibly drop. A relieved sigh escapes him, and a small smile cracks his dusty face. Here is the practical truth about leaving your business behind. The true return on investment of a family trip is not the photos you take. You don't go on vacation to escape your life forever. You go to learn how to set boundaries when you return. The farm will always demand more blood, sweat, and time than you have to give. The hardest work we ever do is realizing that pausing to breathe is not laziness. It is the only way to sustain the business and the family long term. Tu Na carries the heavy canvas gift bags through the front door, stepping into the dim, familiar coolness of their wooden house. She sets the bags down gently on the floor and walks into the kitchen. The space is quiet, smelling faintly of old wood smoke and dried herbs. She stops at the center of the room and rests her bare hand lightly against the surface of their dining table. It isn't covered in a crisp, spotless white hotel tablecloth. The wood is rough and unapologetic beneath her fingertips. There are deep, dark burn marks near the corner from a forgotten hot pot during a winter storm. There are hundreds of tiny, overlapping knife scratches from years of hurriedly chopping vegetables while holding a fussy Henry on her hip. For 5 days, she had been seduced by the illusion that a perfect, luxurious city life was somehow better than their flawed reality. But as she runs her fingers over the uneven grain, a sudden, overwhelming warmth fills her chest. She realizes she doesn't miss the sterile luxury of the hotel at all. The city was a wonderful place to rest her body, but this dusty, imperfect wooden house is the only place that holds their true history. Alex walks up quietly behind her, setting down the final piece of luggage. Tu Na turns and wraps her arms tightly around him, burying her face into his shoulder. They stand there in the quiet kitchen, anchoring themselves in the reality of their shared life. They aren't hugging because the vacation was perfect. They are embracing because they survived the immense, relentless pressure of the farm long enough to build a home worth coming back to. The hardship wasn't a curse, it was the very thing that gave their home its meaning. An hour later, the porch is filled with loud, beautiful, chaotic laughter. They aren't drinking fine imported wine from delicate crystal glasses. They are drinking dark, strong, steaming tea, sitting awkwardly on faded plastic stools that are slightly too small for them. Henry is completely covered in mud from head to toe, eagerly handing out cheap, brightly colored city candies to Bar Tang and the neighboring farmers who stopped by to welcome them back. The transformation is profound and quiet. Tu Na looks out at the dusty tractors, the unwashed crates, and the heavy bamboo gate, and she feels no panic in her chest. Just complete peace. This is the deeper truth we all eventually have to learn. You don't go on vacation to escape your life forever. You go away so you can remember how to love your real life again. Tomorrow, the packing shed will open. The machines will break. The soil will demand water, and the work will try to consume them. The sky will feel incredibly heavy once more, and they will have to carry it. Will they remember this boundary when the daily pressure returns? Perhaps. But today, the heavy bamboo gate is open, the tea is warm, and the mud is exactly where it belongs. Have you ever felt the heavy weight of returning to your daily life after a rest? Share your experience with us in the comments below. We read every single one. If this story brought a little peace to your day, please leave a comment to let us know we aren't alone in this journey.